Hi, I'm David Norris, and I'm serving up the perfect podcast, Pompey Platter with Russ, Daz and Haz. Play up, Pompey!
Murphy scores! A magnificent goal! That's just wonderful from Josh Murphy! Shaughnessy, great saving! Shaughnessy at the near post! Chance for Colby Bishop over the goalkeeper, off the post and into the back of the net! Colby Bishop! Lang's got his fourth! A fourth for Callum Lang!
Hello and welcome to the Pompey Patter podcast, season 2, episode 22. Pompey gunned down by the Arsenal. This week, I'm only joined by Daz, because has decided that he is a scummer, and he no longer supports Pompey. No, I'm only joking. He is unfortunately unwell, so we got Daz joining me. How are you, Daz?
Yeah, good mate, good. It's nice for it not to be me, the person that's dropping out, isn't being able to do the pod. I mean, saying that, I would never ever miss a pod, so that's fine. But no, get well soon, mate. I know will. He must be ill if he's if he doesn't want to. Not if he doesn't want to, but he can't make it on.
Definitely. So today we're going to review the Arsenal game. We've also got a special guest in Graham coming on to talk about the Coalition. And then we'll preview the Sheffield Wednesday game and kind of see how it goes. Without the three of us, it's a bit silly doing our segments because you need kind of three of us. So we might end up being a bit of a shorter episode. We see how it goes. So, Daz, should we start with the Arsenal game?
Yeah, I've seen Graham has requested, so what I'm going to do is add him.
Get Graham on.
Add him, and then we'll get him in as and when. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll make sure he can hear us. We can hear him. Hello, Graham. Can you hear us?
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, there you are.
Yeah, hi. Sorry, I was on mute as always with these things. No, hi guys, how you doing?
Yeah, we're all good, mate. No worries.
Yeah, good. Thank you.
How are you?
Yeah, all good. Yeah, thanks for having me on. Yeah, looking forward to it. And yeah, here to answer any questions you've got. I know you're doing the Arsenal bit first. So yeah.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, we'll just quickly go over it, and then if you've got anything, you said yourself you were there, so I'll come to you first, Graham. Actually, did you enjoy the game? Enjoy the occasion, or not?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's nice to go to a match where you kind of know what the result will be. I mean, I think we all knew what was going to happen, but it was. I think we did ourselves proud. There was, the first half. I think we started well. We got the goal, and I was with my boys, so it was nice to celebrate that goal. But then it's just another level, isn't it, when you watch how they pass and move, and then even when teams can pass and move and like that, but then outmuscle you on set pieces is scary. So no, we didn't embarrass ourselves. So yeah, it was a good game, and yeah, something that maybe we can now just a blessing in disguise to focus on the league.
Yeah, it was a nice occasion, but the league far more important. We got bigger fish to fry. Daz, did you lose any more hairs off your bald head when Bishop scored his goal?
Wow, when the goal went in, I think the last time celebrated like that, I think was the Leeds at home goal. Because for me, I said at the start of the game, said to a few lads I know down there, I was like, look, I just want a goal that means something. So whether that means we go 1-0 up or whether we go 1-1 and score an equaliser, because I couldn't see us scoring more than one. But actually looking back on the game, I think if we had defended better from corners, which for some reason we can't do, we turn into, don't want to say the word here or there, but we turn into a group of players that I think they've never defended a set piece in their lives. But yeah, when we went 1-0 up, I didn't expect that goal to come so early. And I think that's probably why the sort of everyone hit the roof when we scored, because it was so unexpected. But yeah, we went absolutely mental. It
You
was
weren't there
just
for the Charlton game, were you?
no,
Yeah.
I wasn't there for that. And obviously that's a different kind of goal, isn't it? I suppose because I mean,
Both
again,
unexpected.
both were unexpected. That's literally what I was about to say. Both were unexpected, but Charlton are a team that you'd expect. Well, you'd hope and you'd think we would get a goal against. With Arsenal or any team, obviously in that top 4, top 6 big team bracket, you're probably hoping rather than expectation or anything like that. So, yeah, didn't expect the goal to come that early. I mean, when Bishop scored, the first thing I did was look over at the linesman, and then in my head for a split second I was thinking, is there VAR in this? Because I couldn't work it out, because obviously with Arsenal being in town or any of the big Premier League teams, you never know whether it is in play or not. And yeah, it went absolutely mental. It was just a shame it didn't last longer than in 5 minutes.
Yeah. The thing is set pieces have been obviously a talk for months now, isn't it? But I actually give us a bit of a leeway with this game. I watch Arsenal a lot this season, and I watched them last night, and they could have easily scored 5 against Chelsea from corners. I've looked back at them goals. I don't see how you defend them. That I've never seen a team consistently put in world-class quality balls as much as they do. It's so hard to defend. And if top world-class footballers are struggling, what hope did we have?
I'm okay with their first corner. Well,
I think that's the worst one, because we could have cleared it about 3 times.
But that's the thing; it's like all over the place. There's so many bodies in that part there. The problem with us, we didn't win the first contact and stuff like that. So that's done us straight away. And then when you got that many people in that little bit of area, you don't know where the ball's going to end up. So I can accept that one. I don't like it. I can accept it. But their other 2 set pieces, well, they all kind of came from set piece anyway. The other one was a quick free kick, wasn't it? But the other 2 corners where Martinelli's got a free head, pretty much, and got above, and that's down to us and our organisation. For me, I feel that us up against probably the best team at set pieces at the moment in the country. Why we set up so much zonal? I don't mind a couple of zonal players, because we did it with Raggett. He basically made sure he was free every time because he was the best header of the ball and he could always go and attack it. But to have that many players playing zonal against a team that's so good at set pieces, I don't think they needed to be that good against us, to be honest. And the balls in are the balls you expect from top end Premier League players.
Do it, but as I said, even last night, it's every ball. I've never seen a team every corner be spot on. I
honestly agree with what you said about the first one. Did my head in, because we know how dangerous they are from corners. We'd just gone 1-0 up, and Devlin had a chance, I think it was Devlin, to clear it. Yep. And he let it go out because he thought it was a goal kick, but he wasn't sure. And you know the old rule, when in doubt, kick it out. He could have just cleared that up the pitch or out for a throw-in, and he took the risk. I think if we had kept it 1-0 for a bit longer, I mean, I'm not saying we'd have won the game, but it made it more interesting. It was such a silly mistake for that first corner. It was really frustrating.
Yeah, and I watched the other 2 back, and I look at it and I think I just don't know how else you defend it, because it's just that good. The praise is fully on Arsenal. Don't get me wrong. When we've watched, we've us 3 have talked about the corners and the set pieces for weeks on weeks now. The other times I've looked back and gone, well, why didn't this player do that? Why didn't that? I've watched these back and I've gone, how do you stop that? How? Can anyone tell me how you stop that?
I just feel if we went more man to man, I think we've got more of a chance.
Maybe, but then
doing that.
They set up so weird.
I know, but that's the thing. I'm not saying they would not have scored from another corner, and I said I would have accepted it again, because you can kind of see it coming. Because as I said, if you're playing against at the moment the best team in the country and the best team at set pieces against a championship team just in around the relegation zone, who aren't good at set pieces, you're going to expect they're going to score at least 1 from a set piece. But I feel that we gave in too easy. And again, okay, the first one was bad, but then surely from the second one, we have to sort of be more aware. I don't think even Martinelli had to work for that. it's an easy front post header. Okay, the ball's quite good, but it's only good because I think we've allowed it to be good because of our lack of being able to attack the ball and get that first contact. I might be being harsh, but it just really I wanted to be so positive about the game on Sunday. And I felt that if we'd have just defended just a little bit better from set pieces, even if we'd have gone in at half time like 1-1 and like defended the second set piece better, the second corner, I do think we could have pushed them a little bit further because that's the only thing that let us down. I thought, apart from the set pieces, I didn't really see where they were going to score. But the problem was, once we went 2-1, 3-1 down, we're done because we have to come out and we have to and that's when they can pick those holes. And that's what they started doing, especially in that last 10, 15 minutes. They started to look after the ball because they could.
Well, we're down the 10. We looked knackered. We looked tired.
Yeah.
The boys for 70 minutes, we gave them a game, in my opinion.
100%.
Like I just said earlier on Twitter, like the rave people go on about Ben Waite, and I've watched the game back. I do videos for Mark Roberts and Seggers. Seggers ripped him apart. Blair ripped him. Like that was for me Blair's best game by a mile. Such a shame he got injured again because he couldn't handle either of them. And Madueke, I don't know what were you boys like. For me, I thought he was wasteful, but everyone else from outside of Pompey seemed to think he had a great game. I don't know what you two thought.
I mean, he was wasteful for me because I hate betting against Pompey, but I had a bet that they'd score 5 goals, and he missed a penalty that cost me 120 quid. But I just thought they just went to him. I mean, he's like Josh Murphy on steroids, isn't he? The way he just always just was running at us, and I think it was. I mean, it's ironic that we kind of got beat on set pieces rather than from open play because I thought they would just tear us apart. But yeah, I mean, they're another level. I mean, their movement on the ball is just scary. I actually thought he had a good game, but yeah, he was just very wasteful on the ball. But he always was the outlet for them, wasn't he? They went to him every time.
Yeah. He was. Well, Martinelli was obviously more clinical, but he was the threat. But then, at the same time, we kept, I thought, Eze, who I was the most looking forward to seeing, very quiet. First half, you could maybe even argue we had the better chances.
No, 100% we did. Yeah, and that's what I was saying about us if we were better from set pieces and just even limited them to 1 goal in the first half from a set piece, I felt so positive. And then obviously even at 2-1, I said at half time, if you had offered me 2-1 and we're well in this game, it's not like a lucky 2-1 because I think we deserve to go in within touching distance, I would have snapped your hand off for it. But it's then obviously the way we came out, and obviously that shows the different kind of quality where they got the ball down so quick and moved it. I mean, we need to be better at that. But that's sort of what made it more frustrating for me because I didn't expect us to be in it like we were. And we got let off, obviously, with the penalty, which I think Madueke, or however you pronounce his name, is playing for it.
Was that a penalty?
For me, no, but he's played for it. And so the referee sees it like that. He's got in front of him, slowed right down, and then he's just gone into the back of him.
Would VAR have overruled that, do you think?
I don't know, to be honest. I don't know. I don't trust VAR as much as I trust the officials. If you look at the
what view did you have? What view did you have of it? I was where I sit. I was not behind where the challenge came from, but I got a really good view. I thought it was blatant.
Yeah, I thought it was blatant.
The Pompey reaction you always tell by the players if they don't really protest, they've seen it. I actually thought the one that they got the corner that they scored from was actually a penalty, but it wasn't a corner. Yeah,
he should have. If he went down, I remember I turned to my dad and went 4-4. If he had gone down, then that was a penalty, and then they scored. And then I think I jokingly said, "Wow, them getting a corner is pretty much like getting a penalty goal."
Yeah, well, that was the funny thing, wasn't it? When in the second half, when the ball went out for a corner, I think we were 3-1 down, or maybe 4-1 down at the time. Everyone groaned, and a lot of people in the fratting end started sitting down. So that was quite funny, but obviously, on the other hand, it's not because you realise how bad we are from set pieces. But the thing is, obviously, it is a penalty, but the way Madueke has done it, like I don't think Swanson can do much about it. He's been really clever. He's just got ahead of him and he's got in front of him and then he's just slowed down. So it's one of those where like sort of he's forced the penalty to happen. It's not like Swanson's gone in and taken him clean out. So I suppose I am contradicting myself a bit, but it's one of those ones where it is a penalty, but I don't think it should be a penalty because it's Madueke who's like brought on that contact, and the referee just couldn't wait to give it anyway. As soon as it happened, like a lot of refs give themselves a little bit of time. He pointed straight to the spot, so it's frustrating. But I mean, when you're up against top end Premier League players, they can do that to you.
Do you guys think this could hopefully be a revival for Bishop? Got a goal he really needed, but I thought he was excellent anyway. Take the goal away, that was like watching the old Bishop. I thought he gave Gabriel a bit of a runaround at one point.
Yeah, 100%. I thought he was really good. I thought everyone was good.
I thought LaRue was absolutely poor. I think the only thing he did was get a yellow card.
Yeah, in that centre mid, I suppose it can be quite tough for both to perform when you're up against.
Giselle had a good game.
But that's what I mean. Is sometimes it might be hard for both of you to perform at that level. And Luke LaRue's not been consistently playing either, where like I suppose Dazelle has, and maybe that sort of gives him the the little bit of advantage. But and the thing, I thought everyone played well, and I think we played to the strengths of Bishop. We pressed a bit more. Well, we pressed very well, I thought. And then when we got the ball, we got into areas and we got the ball into the box as quickly as we could. And that's because I think you're forced to do it because when you're playing again against the big boys, if you don't move the ball quickly and get the ball in the box as quickly as possible, you don't give yourself any sort of chance because you have to get that ball and catch them out as quickly as you can because you give them 1 split second extra time and they've recovered and they've got around it. So I think the fact that we played them, and I always feel that we play better against the better sides, the teams towards the top end of the table usually, because I feel it's sort of we have to do it, which is quite frustrating. Obviously, when we play teams in and around us, it's lucky we're not playing anyone in and around us on Saturday, isn't it?
But I mean, I think for Bishop, I mean, if it's not going to kind of set a season off scoring against the best team in Europe, and by that the best team in the world right now, what is going to? What I liked about the goal was that he was in the right position. The frustration for me with Bishop this season is how many crosses has Murphy, when he's fit, put in the box, and you're like, where is Bishop? You know, he's 6 yards behind the ball. It was like he was in the right place for a centre forward to be. So yeah, hopefully it gives him confidence because he kind of resurrected our season last year. So we need him back performing because, quite frankly, without him, who's behind him to come in and score goals? So we need goals, and yeah, hopefully that sets him off.
Well, and the thing is, I think it helps that we pressed higher on Sunday because then that allows Bishop to be higher, where it seems like he's dropped too much. So then when the ball goes out to Murphy or out onto the right, he's got to do some catching up and then trying to pick where he needs to be. I think if we can continue how we did on Sunday, press high, then if we do win the ball, he's already in those positions where he can sort of pick out a better position to be for the likes of Murphy. Well, obviously not Murphy this weekend, but whoever it is there, and like to be available, Johnny on the spot, and even if the ball doesn't come to him in the first instance, he's there to pick up loose balls like he did on Sunday.
Yeah, we have to talk. Obviously the result's a bit of a negative, even though we're all expecting it. 2 big negatives: 2 injured players. As I said earlier, I thought Harvey Blair looked like a different player. It was such a shame he had to come off, and then obviously Franco Uma looked like he could be a problem for teams, with his physicality and pace. And he knew as soon as he stretched for that ball, that was it. I mean, I felt like I felt it sitting where I was. And then we get the news he's out for the season. I don't know how you boys feel. You just sort of feel like the world's against us at the moment.
Well, I mean, this would probably be a segue into the conversation you want to have with me. I mean, I think you get what you pay for. And, we can't keep blaming bad luck for the injuries. I think we've got some issues at the club around medical facilities and the training ground. I mean, There's been lots of talk about the pitches. We don't have the ability to take the team indoors in bad weather. We don't have, like a lot of clubs have, like domes and stuff, and the pitch can be very heavy. We get a lot of muscle injuries, not like bad tackles. It's just muscle injuries. And, when you sign players that are, injury prone, we've signed a lot of them because they're cheaper, they're a risk, they're going to get injuries. So, I think you kind of do get what you pay for a bit. And that's a big part of the budget, that they're having to take gambles on players. We saw with Yengi. I mean, Yengi, whatever you thought of him as a player, his injury record was absolutely horrific. One of the most horrific injury records I've ever seen. And how much time did he spend on the sidelines? So you kind of do get what you pay for. But, I think for Mourinho, that's why he just sounds so down at the moment, because he's literally signing players and they're getting injured before they've even started. So yeah, it's a frustration for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I think that is a good segue. Unless there's anything else, Daz, you want to talk about the Arsenal game?
I just want to say, when I saw Ume go down, I knew exactly his pain. I've done both of my hammies at some point. My hammies mainly towards the end of playing football because so unfit, and mine didn't look as bad as his. And trust me, I don't know if you guys have ever had it before.
I've never done a bad hat. I've done it where when I was younger and I couldn't play for a week or two, but not like that.
But that's the thing. When you get older, it's 10 times worse, and the pop and everything like that. It's not pain to start with. It's like a delayed thing because you hear the pop and then all of a sudden it's just pain for your leg. And he looked in a lot of pain. And when players don't move and they're off the pitch, then it's bad. Well, let's face it. If he'd have dragged himself on the pitch, Martinelli would have pushed him straight back off anyway. So
I don't know how old you boys are. I'm in my 40s now. I've done my hammy getting out of bed in the morning, so I can't really criticise.
Yeah, well, that's my knees. My knees do that now.
I get cramps sleeping. I wake up in the middle of the night, my fucking calf's doing one. So yeah.
See, Has, if you're listening, you got all this to come. He's a youngster. Right, we're going to segue now on to why we brought Graham on. Thank you, Graham.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks
I put a tweet out a little while ago just saying, look, would anyone please just come on and, we want to hear it. Tweets it gets toxic on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it. You can't say anything and someone's on your back, and it's just easier to have an open discussion, talk about it. I'm gonna be honest with you both. I'm gonna be a devil's advocate on both sides, because I know Daz is a bit more for the Eisners. So I'm going to push either sides. I'm not taking sides. I'm just being a host and sort of questioning, why for both. But I will give my view at the end anyway.
Yeah, sure.
But Graham, for starters, you want to tell how you got involved with the coalition and how it sort of started and why, basically.
And name every single person. You want their name, addresses, the lot.
Yeah, but definitely. No, look. So thank you for having me on. And I think you're right. It's a debate, right? And there should be the toxic nature of it is actually funny enough how the coalition started. So, let's start at the beginning. I think I probably need to go back a little bit here, so I'll try and be quick, because I know we haven't got a lot of time. But
no, you've got to take us. Normally here till 10 o'clock.
So we go back to fan ownership. When the fans took over the club, obviously everyone involved, whether you were a high net worth, whether you were a single shareholder, consortium shareholder, PST member, whether you paid a ticket, brought a teddy bear from the club shop, whatever you did during fan ownership, you played your part in rescuing the club and then sustaining the club. I think during fan ownership, it was pretty clear that we would always get promoted from League Two. Our size of our stadium, even before the work started by the fans, spending $1 million a season to bring the capacity from 15 to 19.5 by the time the Eisners took it on, we were always going to be able to have a budget to get us out of League Two. It took longer than we wanted, but we would get there. And then the same really for League One. Our budget in League One, it'd be a little bit more difficult, but it was always going to put us in and around the top six, with the revenue we'd get from the fan base. But the issue was that the ceiling, I think, for the fans were, what happens when you get to the Championship? How can we really be a sustainable football club and compete at the Championship level? Because the money's ridiculous. So we knew that. And despite there was talk of plans, I just don't think the fans really had the money, without going out to fans again, to really build the infrastructure that we needed. The academy needed work. Fratton Park needed a bigger stadium, new stands. With the best will in the world, I don't think the fans had the capital to do that. We could have done things for sure. There maybe were some plans, but I think that was the issue. So, and this is again, and I wanted to come on to actually squash some funny things that have been said about the coalition. So the first thing is, I think the coalition is made up of about 25 people, and I think of 24 of the 25 all voted yes for the takeover, by the way. They're either shareholders or PST members. So this talk that they're all ex-disgruntled shareholders that never wanted them. There's one, he's listening. He's probably laughing because he's been a miserable git from day one of this. But the other 24, me included, absolutely supported the Eisner takeover. Why? Because they could take us to that next level. I really thought that, even if we'd stayed fan-owned and got to the championship, we'd have got our League One. But I felt that we needed someone like the Eisners to come in and do what they said about the academy and the stadium. In short, what happened very quickly after the takeover was that I happened, and sometimes it's a blessing and a curse, that I had a source inside the club. And I was just being fed a lot of information that really debunked really what the Eisners were saying in their speech about taking the club on. And I started, funny enough, to post this on a message board that we were all in the coalition members of at the time. Funny enough, when I was posting this stuff, it got a lot of abuse. And I mean, I'm not going to be a saint here. I gave as good as I got, but it got a lot of abuse just for posting what I had been told. And even when that stuff was proven to be true over the course of the months and years, when I was posting new stuff, people wouldn't believe it. And it got to the point actually where there was a bunch of fans that we didn't even know each other at the time. Some of us knew each other, some of us didn't. And we all come to the same conclusion that the Eisners weren't exactly what they promised to be. So we then sort of WhatsApp group. And this is the funny thing that, Coalition is not a membership like the PST. It was literally a bunch of fans. And we were basically an echo chamber on a WhatsApp group. We all had the same opinions. And then we just said, why don't we actually do something to highlight this? Because our concern was there was nobody actually asking questions. I mean, nobody. You had a very compliant local media, the news, Radio Solent. I even joined the PST board for 6 months to try and challenge them. And it was very apparent they had no interest in challenging the owners. Other fan groups like Pisa and people like that, no one wanted to challenge. So, and the questions being asked in the Tony Beadle's fan conference when I joined one was, it was just ridiculous. There was nothing at all that was challenging. And we just felt someone has to speak out. So that's why we formed. And literally it was just a bunch of Pompey fans who had the same opinion. And we created the statement and the flyover to highlight what we predicted would happen about where we are today. That if the Eisners didn't change course with investment into the club around growing the revenues, that we would get to the championship and we would struggle. And I think I can safely say we were proven correct as it stands today. And you can see the reaction on social media that more and more people are now, I think the vast majority of people are saying the same stuff. Even people that were ridiculed in the coalition at the time are now repeating the same questions. So that's where it came from. And it was never about, for us, fame or, to try and be important. It was just to highlight questions that we really felt needed to be asked that were not being asked. And to be fair, 3 years on, none of those questions have been answered. None at all. So yeah, it's that I hope that answers the question where we came from.
Yeah. So you said you were posting things you heard. What sort of things were you hearing? What was it that was, sending alarm bells?
Well, so the first thing was that I was actually told a few days after the takeover that basically the whole the whole pitch was just basically written. It was what we wanted to hear, and that all the things that they said around the academy and the stadium would never materialise. It was never going to be what we expected it to be. For example, I heard over 2 years ago, and this came literally, I can't reveal this source. I know people go, why don't you? But
no, I get that because
but this way, but it's now public knowledge, by the way, because it's been written in the press. Oh, right. But about 2 years before it was in the press, I was told that in a meeting, it was said that they would not build a new North Stand until we got to the Premier League. And in this meeting, certain people were in there, including fans, that were literally gobsmacked at this. And when I posted it, I actually got accused of being a bullshitter, a liar, a shit stirrer. And that's why we now have a new message board, by the way. It's called the Pompey. If you Google it, we created it. It's where we all left and went to congregate because we got banned for speaking out. But that's now been said publicly. And my view on that is, with all due respect, us three here could run Portsmouth Football Club tomorrow, let it live off its revenues. And if we somehow got promoted to the Premier League, we could build a new North Stand with the 250 million or whatever we get for being there. That is not why we sold to the Eisners. We sold to them to build that. And if you go back to the statement that we put together, and if anyone's read it, and I hope they do, because I'd love people to say what they disagree with. What we tried to do with the statement was actually, and it took a lot of time to do this, by the way, and this is again another conspiracy or what's the right word, myth that I want to debunk now. Because unfortunately the flyover took place on John Mousinho's first game, everyone assumed that we were saying they had no ambition because they hired him. And I actually think Mousinho even thought that was the case himself. And that was just pure, just bad luck with the timing. The coalition started the December before Mousinho was even hired. It was when Danny Cowley was manager. It had absolutely nothing to do. In fact, funny enough, the hiring of him was actually one of the bright spots for us, that we'd actually gone for some, an up and coming young manager with new ideas rather than the dinosaurs like Jacket that we've had in the past. So it was nothing to do with him. But what we tried to do with the coalition was, if you read the statement, was actually point out where they'd actually said stuff. At the end of the day, you can only judge people what they say. And you go back to Redmond, October 2017, when they were talking about Fratton Park. He said, we will want the ability to expand to at least 30,000, simply because if you think about our ambition, you don't want to be a small club at the point where you are successful. So that was 2017, where he was making the commitments, just as they did in the takeover, to get this stadium bigger, to grow our revenue so we can be sustainable. And here we are, nearly 10 years on, and they've grown capacity by about 1,500 seats. There's no plans to do anything else as it stands. Talking about they won't do this till we get to the Premier League. Well, the fans could have done that. And actually, a fact is, in 4 years, a bunch of fans grew the capacity at Fratton Park more than billionaires have done in 10 years. And that's a fact. So I think for us, it feels a bit like Pompey is still a fan-run club, as we were when we were fan-owned, but we're owned by billionaires. So it just feels like, no, I don't believe deep down anyone who voted yes, including me, can look in the mirror and say, this is exactly what I voted for, where we are today. No one voted for this. We expected more. And I worry now because I feel like they've lost interest. I mean, where were they Sunday, right? Against the best team in the world. They're not here. They didn't come to Spurs. They weren't at our first game back in the Championship. It feels like they've lost interest. And when you hear excuses about abuse, I know there's idiots online that abuse people, but can you tell me a game they've been to where they've been abused? I can't think of any chance at games where they've been abused that they've been at. In fact, they get actually a good reception. So I don't know. It's a worry. I feel right now as a club, we are in total no man's land. Where do we go from here? We go back down. Even if we stay up next year, what will change? We'll still have the lowest budget in the league. It just feels like everything, again, go back to our message, no ambition, no plan. So yeah, sorry, a long answer, but hopefully that answered it.
I think from a perspective of maybe like you, Daz, is there anything you want to challenge anything on? Like, you're a bit more an optimistic, positive Pompey fan towards the Eisners. Is there any points Graham's made that you may want to challenge, or?
Well, not really, no, because obviously when Graham says about obviously the stuff that, like, obviously he knows someone in there, and obviously he's been part of the PST and that kind of stuff, trying to ask questions. Like, I've never been one or the other. I'm all, as we said on our, like, the other day, wasn't it, where I always try and look at the, like, brighter side of it, I mainly because I want to look at both sides, and then because usually when there's two sides to a story, somewhere in the middle is usually where, like, the actual truth lies. So I've never been 100% pro Eisner, 100% Eisner out. I've always just given them chances. And I think I said on our WhatsApp group saying that especially this winter, this January window, and then the next summer window for me is make or break, because like no matter if they want to stick to some kind of set way of how much they want to spend and the budget and that kind of stuff, we've got no choice. We've got to go out there and spend now. We've like, whether that's obviously, I know the loan the other day, like I like him because I've always I wanted him before he went to Luton. So the player I'm happy with, the loan I'm okay with, but I would have preferred like even an option or obligation to buy like in the summer, because that would have shown some more ambition.
I think the issue, I mean, what I would say to that, and I appreciate what you're saying, absolutely, and thank you. I mean, I think first thing, I don't think this is about deciding one way or the other, and I want what I mean by that is, again, and when people have criticised the coalition, I've seen it. The first thing I always say is, have you read the statement? And the people then that have criticised always will say no. And I'm like, just read the statement. And again, let's talk about the flyover quickly, and I'll come back to this. People go, oh, you flew a plane. Oh, I'm like, right, let's be clear. The plane was not the protest. You know, if anyone's been in sales or marketing who's listening in, everyone will know that if you want to create something new, the first thing you've got to do is bring awareness. Like the coalition is made up of like all walks of life. We've got plumbers, brickies, financial advisors, journalists, housing association representatives. We've got people who work on the dust. I work in sales. It's Pompey season ticket holders, like normal people. We create a Twitter page and then write a statement, a really well written statement, by the way. And congrats to the guys who spent all those days and nights putting it together. But
you didn't use AI then?
No, I've seen that, by the way. No, thankfully this was before AI became big. This was proper work by some proper people who did it. But look, you know, we knew that who would give a toss? Who are we? You have to bring attention to it. So all the plane was about, and I'll tell you what, and it worked. So when someone said to me, "Are you embarrassed by the plane?" I went, "No, it did exactly what we wanted it to do," because Neil Allen called me and he was like, yeah, this is big, like a plane. Wow. He knew about it before. And that's why he ran a piece on it. It got onto Sky. It got onto the ITV highlights. The Eisners talked about it in a recent interview, so they saw it. But crucially, the New York Times literally wanted to do a piece on it because of the flyover, you know, an award-winning journalist. It was in print in America. Excuse me. But the main thing about it, forget all of that stuff, was that after the game, after the flyover, within 24 hours, about 8,000 more views of the statement were had. And that's why I always say the statement, and if you read it, and again, I can't imagine anyone could read that and think these guys are idiots or they're bad people. And that's why I say it's not really picking a side, it's just questions. And I think as a club, we have the right more than any other fan base I can think of to ask questions of owners, what we've been through. But then we sold the club. It's not like one rich owner sold to another. We made the decision to sell it to somebody, and we made that reason based on what they said. So asking them questions about what they've actually said, and that's, if you look at the statement, that's all it is. It's, we highlight what they have said and we want answers. And to get rid of another myth, we don't want the Eisners to go. At the moment, it's getting close to that. Literally, if the Eisners announced tomorrow, planning permission has gone in for a new North Stand to increase capacity, demolish and build a brand new one to 30,000 corporate boxes, hotel for non-match day revenue, to help us grow our revenues, Coalition would stand down tomorrow, because that's what we want, because then they're building something that, all right, it may take a few years to recognise that revenue, but that is then in place for the club to maximise. And one of the biggest limitations we've got as a club is not just our match day capacity. And actually, this is Andy Cullen himself who said this to me when I met him. And do you know what? I really like Andy Cullen, by the way. I think when he's come in, what he's done with what he's got available, like the fan zone and everything he's achieved, Andy Cullen understands that football revenue is about revenue per seat. You know, so it's not just about the match day tickets. It's how much, if you spend £25 on a ticket, how much can we get you to spend more? You know, if you turn that 25 into £50 per fan, you double your revenue. So that's why he's done things like the fan zone. But what we don't have as a club is the ability to do revenue on a non-match day. So, you know, like a hotel or, you know, corporate facilities where you can get businesses to come in. Like this week, I was at a session at Reading Stadium in one of their boxes where, you know, a company had hired it out. We need stuff like that. So all we want is the Eisners to just detail what they've promised about I don't even care about the academy really, because to be honest, you can spend a lot of money on that and get nowhere. So I'm never worried about that. It's how can you increase our revenues, which they promised, to allow us to compete more. And my concern is, sorry, to the point you just raised then about this summer, people asked us, why did the coalition kind of stand down at the time? A lot of it was because the abuse was vile and there were threats and stuff which were unacceptable. But we're fans, and when we're riding high in League One, we wanted to enjoy that moment, and we don't want to be like raining on the cloud in in the sunshine. We wanted to enjoy that time, and our thoughts were, rather than ram it down people's throats, just let people see what will happen. And also, to be fair, we want to give the Islanders the benefit of the doubt. We got promoted. What are they going to do? And the first season, even then, we were kind of like, okay, right, but they didn't go too mad. They didn't give us. It was still a bottom 3 budget. But we survived. Now we push on. But quite frankly, what's happening in the summer is an absolute disgrace. I don't know if you picked up on it, but Mazzino at the Solent Fans Forum, when he was asked about, he said, and I quote, if we are sat here this time next year as a championship club, it will be a result. He was telling us then how bad it was. You look at all the other clubs that have pushed on that were in and around that relegation battle last year. Look at clubs like Derby, Rex. I'm not going to count Birmingham, but like Wrexham have come up. People laughed at me when I said that Wrexham would overtake us a few years ago, and they have now. And they're building a new stand. They have not backed Mazzino this summer. He's got the lowest budget in the league, and we're now halfway through the January transfer window with an injury list as long as my arm, and we've just signed a League One player on loan, and that's it so far. And you hear him, it's not acceptable, but sadly it's predictable. And if you go back to what we said, we knew this was coming because the Islanders were never going to chuck their own money on the pitch. And so this is why our concern is nothing's going to change this summer. The Islanders aren't suddenly going to go, here's 10 million for the playing budget. And to be fair, we're not asking them to do that. They've never said they were going to, chuck their own money in. Where's the money coming from? There's no projects in the pipeline to increase our revenue. So we are that we're in no man's land now as a club. We survive. We have one of the lowest budgets in the league again next season. It's nothing's going to change until the Islanders change course, or sadly, they sell the club. It feels like they've taken this club as far as they are prepared to take it. I mean, they could take it further. They're wealthy. They could chuck money at it. Maybe I don't want to wish any ill on anyone. Michael Eisner's old now. When he passes on, does Eric suddenly become wild and start spending money? Who knows? But people expecting something to change in the summer, unless the Eisners change a 10-year policy of not putting their own money on the pitch, what's going to change?
Yeah,
I don't see it.
I was going to put this on you, Daz. So you said about that, you're going to wait till this window and maybe the next. Let's just say we survive. Do we really think the Islanders are then all of a sudden going to go, okay, we're going to put the budget up to 8 million, 10 million, whatever? Do you honestly think that is what would happen? Because I'm in a bit of agreement there with you, Graham, is in like, I kind of forgave it last season because I didn't expect it, but I honestly thought we'd push on by now. So Daz, do you think, let's just, say we stay up, probably more courtesy of Sheffield Wednesday's position than anything else. Do you think that all of a sudden the Islanders are going to bump that budget up?
I mean, if you held a gun to my head, I'd definitely say no. And as Graham said, like, obviously we expected them not to put their own money on the pitch. And again, I haven't got a problem with how they sort of the baseline understand of what they wanted to do. Well, they say what they wanted to do. Like, obviously, is build it and be sustainable and that kind of stuff. I'm totally on board with that. But again, you're going to need to increase certain things. Like, obviously, we've got the fan zone now, which I think is pretty much packed out the whole time. So if that doesn't give like the owners and the powers that be some encouragement to want to then build on that and make it more, and especially the fact that we're pretty much sold out every home game, that shows that the fan base and the money and that lot is there if you want to increase it, because you're never going to want to increase certain things if you don't think people are going to be there to take advantage of it. It's clear to see that they will, and so I don't understand why they don't push on from there. But obviously with the playing budget and stuff like that, I said this like before last summer that if whatever you spend on players the year before, it has to go up. Like, because we don't want to be just staying up every single season. You want to maybe, because where we finished, 16th last season? I was hoping maybe we could go 15th, 14th. I'm not even asking for a lot. I'm just asking for a small, increase just to keep us going on the up. And I don't expect us to be like playoffs and that kind of budget, but at least push us a little bit more towards mid-table. And I don't think it's Hughes's issue what happened this summer, because I think he's got two hands tied behind his back. He can only work off the budget he's got. And if you look at where we finished, especially over the last two seasons, obviously staying up last season and the season before winning the league, he's outperforming his budget. So he's doing everything he can do. And I think getting like players to develop, that's fine. I'm happy with that. But you can't have the majority of those players being that. You have to have the majority that are players that are ready to go, and then sprinkle that with some development players and players that are going to take a little bit more time. So that's the thing with this January. If they don't go and get those type of players like ready to go, Championship ready, even top end League One or bottom end Premier League or like sort of Championship players, if we don't get those in January, I'm very worried, and I will really be pissed off with how the club is run.
I mean, I think the issue we've got with this whole player trader model, which was funny because we did laugh that after claiming there was no plan, this player trading model suddenly come out of the woodwork as if it was a plan. I mean, you really got to spend money. Very rarely does anyone find a player that's worth like 50k and suddenly goes on to be 50 million. You look at the clubs who've done well with this, they've spent maybe a couple of million, 3 million on a player that's then gone on to be 10. But we don't have that development squad. It's actually one of the biggest issues with our academy. There's no pathway for those academy players to then go into that sort of under 23 area where they can develop and then we can get players to come in. So and again, that's a cost thing for the club. I think, but I literally cannot see any change. So if we stay up, it is the same. And I think, people, it's been so disappointing. People talk about, blame Mourinho. Look, I'm not saying he's not made certain mistakes in certain games, but let's just put it in perspective. And again, I don't think people know this, and we pick up a lot on what's actually said rather than just, assumptions. Moon even confirmed it. We knew this, but when we got promoted from League One, we didn't even have a top 6 budget until January that year. That was Mourinho's work, and then they invested in January that pushed us into that top 6. And Andy Moon confirmed that at the end of the season. Last season, he outperformed the budget. This season, he's got the lowest budget in the league. And it's the mid-January, and we're outside the relegation zone with games in hand. I mean, this guy deserves the freedom of the city as far as I'm concerned. Imagine what he could do with a bit of backing, and signing some decent players, So, again, and I think that's the issue. We just cannot see how this changes. Their model is sustainability. Again, as you said, too, we agree with that. You look at our statement, we're not saying we don't want to be sustainable. It's why I voted to sell. I love the plan of increasing our revenues and using that money on the pitch. It would even be good if we actually saw that, as I said, planning permission had gone in, and in the summer, assuming it was approved, the North Stand was going to be knocked down. It was going to take 3 years to build a new one. I'll be happy to spend 3 years fighting relegation back in League One, but knowing when that opened, our revenues would increase enough. I think you've got to also just look at certain things the Islanders have said that don't correlate. Do you remember they always talked about being here for life in a 50-year plan?
Yeah.
Does it not make sense then? Why wouldn't have you, at the time when finance that was available at that point they joined us was like interest rates were so low? I mean, why wouldn't have they even took a loan out or loan the money themselves to the club and then paid it back over 50 years or whatever they claim to be here for? I mean, that would have made sense, right? If you're going to keep something in the family for 50 years, they could have done it straight away. It seems like a lot of things they say don't correlate to what they actually do. And if you want my honest opinion, I think the issue is they're into us now for too much money. The stadium costs more than they expected to fix up. Again, we detailed this. At the time that they spent, I think it was 12 million. Eisner said in a quote, the stadium cost us 3 times more than we were expecting. You do the maths to figure out how much they were actually planning on spending on the stadium. I get the feeling they're into us for too much money and they cannot sell us for the profit that they want. And that's why we're just seeing this kind of, no investment now, the revenue is what you've got, and that's what you use on the pitch, because we cannot put any more money into any projects. And you look, where are the next projects? We're not hearing about any more equity coming into the club to do any other projects. It feels like that's it now. And they're just almost waiting to see if, I don't know, do we sell a player for a lot of money? Do we stay in the Championship and they can recoup some money? Do we fluke somehow a miracle promotion to the Premier League? I don't know, but I just think that every fan, and it's good to see it's happening now, everyone should be asking questions. Just tell us what you're going to do, Tonante. How are you going to keep this club to the point that was raised earlier? Doesn't necessarily have to get to the Premier League, but how are you going to get us to sort of be safe in mid-table, maybe knocking on the door of the playoffs in the next few years? I think they need to answer that, and I don't think anyone should be ridiculed or abused for suggesting that's a fair question.
No, definitely not. And it's a bit of a Twitter banter or ridicule. It is where it is, but the abuse either side, is where it gets a bit silly. And it, you got those who absolutely detest the Islers and want them gone on social media, who also, as soon as you sort of say anything to them, are quite happy to just call everyone happy clappers and things like that, which, so that's why today is good and this is good, because you can, it's a bit more grown up in a way.
Yeah, and again,
more mature.
And on that point, I think something else that was frustrating to hear was, people said, oh, they're anonymous, keyboard, stuck behind a keyboard, not prepared to do stuff. And it's like, again, it was so untrue. So, first of all, let's be clear, and I won't go into this call today because it's been quite a positive one, but some of the threats, some of the stuff that happened to me was just vile, being targeted at my employment. It was one of the reasons why officially I stood down from the coalition. I still support them, still speak to them every day. But it was just too much for me with, when they're starting to threaten your family, when they're threatening your employment, that was just sick. But, we did offer, we had somebody who went onto that local radio station, and that half-wit presenter literally just didn't even bother to read the statement, just was rude and abusive to this guy who came on to stick his head above the parapet, and he got a load of abuse. And we actually offered, and he come and said in an interview after the protest, our door is always open. That wasn't true, because we offered to meet and they refused. And all we asked for was for the meeting to be recorded. No different to, I think the Three Lads podcast did a meeting with Eric and Andy, and they recorded it on their podcast. We just said, we want to record it. Because we're not interested in access. We're not another fan group. We want a private meeting with someone to make us feel important. We wanted to ask questions for all of you out there, or every Pompey fan to hear, and they refused. We then said, okay, don't record it. Let's do meeting minutes. They refused. So we were prepared to give our names, our identity, and they didn't. So I would challenge anyone listening tonight to say, why did the club not want to meet us? I think they didn't want to meet us because they didn't have answers. And even now, the coalition have come back. You might not realise this, but both the News and Andy Moon have been offered the chance to speak to someone, myself or anyone of the coalition, about why they came back, why they mentioned about their statement still valid. They've turned it down. Now, I'm not suggesting that we are, the coalition are important enough for anyone to care about. But again, so when people suggest they're not prepared to speak, I'm here today with you. We are. The News could have an interview with the coalition tomorrow and print it up, but they said no. So I think it's and you're right. This is a good thing to do. Maybe we should have done more of this at the time, and I think we will do more of this. But no one's afraid to share the views. But it does feel like there's a lot of people that are a little bit worried about speaking out against the owners. And I guess for some, I get it. If their job involves reporting on Pompey, it can be tough to bite the hands that feed you. But we're always open to speak.
Yeah, and that's always like one of my things about the whole situation was like obviously from an outside point of view, obviously you've just explained very well that you have actually been saying we will speak, but at the time it just seemed like, well, why is no one? I've always been like, well, there should surely someone should be the face. Do you know what I mean? Someone should be there, because I think it's easier for people to get behind, in my opinion. I might be wrong, when you got someone that you can relate
Yeah,
to. Do you know what I mean? Like a party leader, if you
I
like.
100% agree. I mean, look, but I think you've also got, and again, this is all part of people understanding, but what happened to me was, when you get a call, from your, at the time from, the previous employer, and they, you've had that letters have been sent in, and these letters were just, I mean, it was actually logged as a crime because it was just pure harassment. But it was some wacko Pompey fan who didn't like the fact we were speaking out, basically trying to get me fired from my job.
I'm not saying for you to say exactly what was going on. That's totally up to you. But I can't work out what on earth any of this has got to do with your job.
Well, I mean, exactly. I mean, it was the biggest shock, and I think it was a shock to everyone. But it felt like, yeah, we want to silence you. We don't want you to speak. And when you think people have gone to the trouble of searching up where you work, and then they send these letters in and create. I mean, it was just ridiculous what they had tried to claim and suggest. They had just literally, in fact, they'd actually taken a tweet written by someone else, and because I was on the thread commenting back to someone else about a totally unrelated subject, they tried to somehow link me back to the original comment. I mean, it was, in fact, my employer at the time said, "Are you going through a divorce?" I went, "Why?" They said, "Because this sounds like like some disgruntled ex-wife doing this to you." And it was like, it was scary. That someone went to those lengths, and there was more than that. When the coalition was happening, someone threatened to take a weapon into the ground and find someone in the coalition and take it to them. It was ridiculous. And when that happens, you can imagine that, look, we're all Pompey fans. We all love the club. And you really say, all we want is the best for the club. That's it, period. But equally, you love your families, and that you're what puts a roof over their head more. So sometimes people are like, it's not worth putting my face out there because I don't want that sort of stuff that happened to me. So yeah, but I hope now that I think people are starting to see that what we said is really happening. You see it now. People are asking the same questions, and and I think that's all that I care about. I just want everyone, our fan groups need to ask more questions. The media need to challenge them more. It feels like they've had a total free ride for 10 years because people seem to not want to ask basic questions of them, and they're not. No one's asking them to do anything that they didn't promise to do. It's just, tell us what your plan is to make us successful, guys. That's what you said, and at the moment they're completely absent. Radio silent.
Yeah, and Daz, I don't know if that's a worry of yours. They are. I can't remember the last time they even did a video or anything.
Was it the last one they did?
About how some baseball player fell over,
Yeah.
and that's why they won't spend money.
Yeah, that is something that quite.
That was kind of the moment where I went, maybe I've been wrong about him this whole time.
Well, it's also, you don't want to be football in this country is so different to football in general is so much different to any other sport and that kind of stuff. It's people hate it when you compare that kind of stuff because you're like, well, that's baseball. This is not this is football. Do you mean in this country? Don't compare us to that. We don't want that. Just just be honest and open and sort of just concentrate on us. And yeah, I mean, obviously when people first sort of said about obviously Isaac didn't come out and talk much, stuff like that. There was some people saying that American owners don't, especially over in America, they don't tend to be the ones that talk. They let other people do their talking. I don't know how true that is or not because I'm not into American sport as much as probably some other people who probably love their NFL and that kind of stuff. And for me, it's as long as I wanted to hear from them maybe once or twice a season, just to give an update of how they look at how they see things, what they want to do, and that kind of stuff. Because obviously Andrew Cullen is the person that is their I wouldn't not to say mouthpiece because that makes it sound like it. Because I like Andrew Cullen. I've always liked him. Ever since I saw him walking around the ground, he talks to everyone and says hello to everyone. And for me, so many CEOs and that lot probably go into hiding, don't want to be anywhere around it. And even when we've been struggling and stuff like that, he's still been doing the rounds. So I've got a lot of respect for him for that. And he seems sound, open, and I think he's done really well for us. So I'm not going to say he's like a mouthpiece, but obviously he's their mouth to obviously talk to the fans. But Graham, for me, is spot on that. certain things are coming to light, which obviously things that they said at the start haven't really come through. As we said, Russ, I'm a very I'll look at the light and then try and look at the lighter side of things. But everyone's got a breaking point. And as I said, this January and then the summer, because for me, shows the true intentions of what they want to do, because we've got no choice now. I said after the Bristol City game that there's no hiding place now for anyone, because we can't look at him at the end of January and gone, well, we didn't really need X amount of players. We didn't need this kind of quality of player, because we just got pumped 5-0, didn't even look into the game, got a injury list as long as Santa's Christmas list. There's no hiding place for anyone now. They have to do it. And if they don't want to do it, then we're going to go down, in my opinion. So for me, the owners, they've got to put their money where their mouth is now. That doesn't mean spending 5-10 million on a player, but it's putting money sensibly in places where it's going to get you those players to get you out of this situation. And obviously, I just want to say, Graham, obviously the fact that people have done those certain things. Obviously, I had heard of people writing letters and to employers and threatening and stuff like that, but never really knew for definite what was going on. And that's disgusting in my opinion. And I don't know whether the people that wrote that sort of stuff are legit, because usually they're the little scroats that won't do anything.
Yeah, I mean,
it's face to face.
Yeah, and it wasn't something to harp on too much about. It's one sad idiot amongst thousands of brilliant Pompey fans. So it was, but I think it was just to highlight when people said, why did people not want to speak out? And I think to your point, it's like the eyes and speaking. The final thing I'll say is, it's not so much about them speaking about them, that they just chat. I mean, all we want to hear is just tell us the plan and actually when it's going to happen, and not just kicking the can down the road and making excuses, because the reality is that even recently they've said that we won't be a yo-yo club. We'll be prepared when we get to the championship, and it's now very clear that we are not prepared to be a championship club unless we outperform a budget. So I think the Islanders need to come in and say, whether we stay up or we get relegated, how they're going to help us take that next step to get into that mid-table area. And the only way they're going to do that is they either chuck their own money on the pitch, which they never will, but let's say that is an option, or they say, right, this is what we're going to do. We're going to build that new North Stand, increase capacity, hotel, whatever. It'll take a few years, but then we'll be able to grow our revenue by 4 or 5 million a season. That some of it will have to pay back the project, but the rest can go on the pitch. I mean, whatever it is, just tell us something. But I think they've disappeared, because I actually think again, we go back to our statement, no ambition, no plan. And I think that is still, until they prove otherwise, that's how it feels.
Yeah, I think I said it to you, Graham, in the message, that the plane situation was also bad timing, as in the following season we got promoted as champions, and it was I think if maybe it was done and we still the year before, and then we were still struggling, it might have grown a bit more.
I think again, I'll go back to the original point I said about the plane versus the statement. The statement, it was never about League One. We knew that in League One, whether we were fan owned or we were owned by billionaires, we could get promoted. The statement was all about the championship. How were we going to compete? And rather than talking hindsight now, we put something out. And I think you're right, at the time, then we get promoted and everyone thinks the Islanders are amazing. But quite frankly, we got promoted despite them. They didn't give Mazzino the best budget in the league that season when we started. They did back him in January, which we give them credit for. But we still outperformed the budget there to win that league. It was when we get to the championship, and I think you said earlier about everyone has their breaking point. I think that was kind of the reason that we just stepped down a bit. It was you're not going to get anywhere forcing something down people's throats. Just let it play out. Hopefully the Islanders do good, which they haven't, in our opinion. And now I think people are seeing the reality of the fact they haven't increased our revenues enough to compete, because we are sustainable for sure, but we're sustainable as literally the lowest budget in the championship. And unless we perform miracles, we're always going to be fighting relegation. And the likelihood is at some point we'll go down. So yeah, I think again, the flyover was again, it's a little bit frustrating when people talk about it because it was all about the statement, and we still talk about it. Just read the statement, go to the Twitter page, read it, and if anyone disagrees, fine, put your comments. But I honestly think if you read it, it's very hard for anyone to say, actually, yeah, that's not the questions we're now asking, because it is, tell us how you're going to increase our revenues. You go back to the Guildhall. I don't know if people remember, they put a slide up about when they were at Paramount and how they doubled the revenues. That's what their message was to us. We are going to come in and massively increase your revenues. We're yet to see it.
I also find it odd, with all the success that teams have had by having, I don't know, Netflix or Disney or whatever, that's something that we never have jumped on, considering their success in films and what have you.
Well, and also the fact of our story, do you mean?
Yeah.
What's happened to us, with the first Premier League team in history to go in administration, we sold a club, expecting these two guys to be sound, and then one of them's an arm, that's not even Guideman I'm talking about, but he's got an international arrest warrant after him, and then we got a fake shake, and then we got the only sort of guy from that sort of area that's not got any money, and then obviously on the verge of going out of existence. Then the fans coming in and saving it, and against all odds against Chiangrai, and then all that sort of stuff. It's a massive story, really, isn't it? And then when you've got the Eisners, who obviously have got a background and all that kind of stuff, surely they could put something together or get a company together to put our story out there.
Yeah, and it's not just that. I mean, they ran Disney, and for anyone who's been, I would say, fortunate enough to take their kids to Disney, it is fortunate, but unfortunate enough to have your bank balance absolutely raped and pillaged by the merchandise there. I mean, they literally slapped Mickey Mouse on front of everything you could think of. And then you go into the Pompey, and I thought when they were coming in, I thought the first thing, and when they trademarked the logo and all that stuff, I was expecting to go into the Pompey shop and see it actually expand to a massive, merchandise shop where literally everything you could imagine would have a Pompey badge on it, especially kids stuff as well. The lack of stuff for children. I even raised this. I said, I took my son in there with a voucher that he got for his birthday, and he came out with nothing. He's there's nothing in, apart from a couple of soft toys. There's so much it feels like they could do. I think that's the frustration. It wasn't just that they had the money. It's who they were, the things that they could do if they actually felt like they had any interest, but none of it happens. So it's frustrating. But look, I think I'd say, look, thanks guys for having me on. I hope it's helped. And for those listening, I hope that they see that, it's our protests has all come from a good place. And, I think just hope all fans ask questions of them. We've got the right to.
I have one more question, unless Dad says anything. What does the coalition have planned to get more fans on side? And is there any more plans of sort of any sort of protests or anything? Not an extreme of getting them out, but what's in the pipeline?
Well, I mean, again, because I'm not officially involved, I can't. I mean, I still speak to them, so they would tell me. I mean, there's nothing that has happened. I think to get fans on side, I think it's already happening. I don't think they need to do anything. You look on social media now, on all platforms, it's really turned now. The vast majority of the posts now are people raising the same questions. If you put a negative comment about the Eisners on social media, it used to get torn apart. Now it's getting likes. So I think the coalition's view is, and it's the right thing they did at the time, just to almost take a step back, which is, and I think the point you raised there about everyone has a breaking point, let people see it with their own eyes. And now people are. They're seeing it. They're seeing the struggles. They're wondering where the owners are. They're wondering where the budget is. They're seeing the players we're signing. And people will start making their voices heard, I'm sure. I mean, if we get beat Saturday, I dread to think what's going to happen. So I think, what do the coalition want? It's very simple. Answer the questions, show us a plan and do it. No one wants them to leave. I think one thing about them is they're not bad owners. They're not, mercenaries, or they're screwing the club. But there's more than one way to kill a football club. And when you just stand still, you go backwards. So it'd be great to see that they actually have some plans that are not based on us somehow fluking promotions to Premier League. Just go and build that North Stand and increase that revenue and give Cullen the opportunity to really maximise the revenue of the club. Because I agree with you. I think he's great. And I think if you give him a hotel and corporate boxes and stuff doing on match day, he will take advantage of it and grow our revenues. He's doing it with like the fan zone and little ideas like that. But they've got to get a plan. It's going to get to the point though where I think it won't be long before not just the coalition, but others are calling for them to sell the club, because how long do you wait before you ask for a change? And if the owners don't speak out and don't say anything that actually any fan understands about the plans for the future, how long are fans going to accept fighting relegation for the Championship every year, or even being back in League One? So I think watch this space, see what they do.
Well, I'm one that can hold his hands up and say, like, look, I got it wrong with the coalition. I am now fully, not saying I want the Islanders out, but on board of what the fuck is going on. Gave them too many benefit of the doubts over the years. I think like I asked the boys, I think last week, name your 11, but Pompey 11 currently, but somewhere where you want to sign someone, just say new signing. Say you wanted a new centre back, you'd say Devlin right back, new signing, Shotnessy, whatever. And it was interesting that only one player from the summer made their lineup, all our lineups, and that was Segasic. Other than that, so that just goes to show how many players we signed in the summer. Only one we would start. That goes to show how bad, and that's kind of where my eyes started open, was that's how bad our transfer window was, that you would only have one. And you're talking about like Bishop still around, Ogilvy still around, Cowley brought them in. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, my eyes have been totally, I feel like I've sort of seen what everyone else was trying to say. I still think there's still some extremists on, but you're going to get that on Twitter. I was just trying to stay out of it now.
I think that you just have, sensible debates, and I've been guilty in the past of getting too involved and probably saying stuff I shouldn't, but I think the message now is just see it with your own eyes. And if every fan starts asking questions, and even if at the games people start, why not protest? Why do we owe the Islanders anything? I mean, I see these comments, they saved the club, but that actually is frustrating, the rewriting of history. They didn't save anything. They took on a club that was debt-free, £1 million in the bank, millions of assets on the pitch in Jamal Lowe and Matt Clark, just promoted as champions to League One. Stadium, $4 million spent on it, fixed up, capacity increase from 15 to 19,000, training ground in the city, $2.5 million spent on it on a lease, club shop, land acquired. They paid the same price that the fans paid for it. Imagine buying a rundown house for 100K, then in 4 years fixing it up and spending a load of money on it, and then selling it for the same price. It was a bargain. So they haven't saved anything. They've got the club on the cheap. They absolutely have to answer about how they're going to deliver what they said, because they did not promise us Fratton Park will be Fratton Park with 1,000 extra seats. Academy will still be rubbish. We will have the lowest budget in the Championship, and that's your lot. No one would have said yes to sell. Everyone would have said, see you later. We'll carry on as we are. So the more fans ask questions, and that's how it should be. And it is weird now. Like, some people want to just defend them at all costs, and I really don't get that. I mean, don't get me wrong, if people start abusing them and calling them names, I get defending that, because there's just no point. But why challenge and be annoyed at people that are asking valid questions? Don't we all want those answers? Because at the end of the day, all the questions are based on one thing: Pompey being a better football club, which is what we all want. So I will leave it at that, because I'm conscious that we said it was a short one. It's now been longer, and I'm sure my wife's going to start killing me in a moment for being so long.
No, well, we really appreciate you coming on, Graham. It's just makes it so much easier than back-to-back tweets. It was getting annoying. But yeah, no, brilliant. If anything comes up in the future,
I'm more than happy to come on. And I think that I'm sure there'll be other members of the coalition that are willing to come on and speak. And thank you for your help. And keep on putting those goals up. I mean, the problem is, at this rate, you're going to run out of stuff to have in the last few years, because we've all forgot what Pompey goal looked like at the moment.
Definitely. Cheers for that, mate. Thanks, Graham.
Brilliant. Thanks all. Have a good evening.
Mate. Thank you.
Bye.
That was good.
Yeah, that was good.
The thing is like, it's always ideal to have someone speaking, and coming on and hearing what they have to say, because like it's the same thing if you read a text or you read anything. Like context, like, is how you say things and do this and the other, like, helps you understand where someone's coming from. And as I said, it's the same with the coalition, same with the Eisners. I've never been like 100% for, 100% against. It's just like I've always been in the middle. Let's see what happens and go from there. Like the plane and that sort of stuff over the thing. At the time, I thought it was a bit weird, but I wasn't like, oh my God, this is disgusting and that kind of stuff. But I kind of just like laughed at it because I didn't even see it, because where I was in the front end, you can't see it.
Yeah,
So
I think I remember it was a certain point you could see it, and from where we sit, and then that was it.
yeah,
And like just it was just like from like a lot. When it's an outsider thing, it just don't look right. But then this is why it's important. I think it's important for the coalition to get on, podcasts, is to get their voice out much, because it's easy to understand why and what they were thinking. As he says, it had nothing to do with League One. It had nothing to do with Messino. It was all to do with the future and the Championship. Whereas at the time I felt it was at Messino and the fact we're still in League One. Again, hold hands up, misunderstood. Doing.
but and that's the thing. Like it's context, isn't it? It's hearing like why things started, and like, because obviously again, a few of those things that Graham mentioned wasn't things that I thought that's what they thought of and that kind of thing. So you want to hear that, like, and like it's the same as people that are so pro Eisner. Like I'd be happy to sit and listen as why they think, and as long as they come across with sensible, like level-headed, like points. Don't go personal. Don't like one way or the other. Because the only issue I've had with certain people that are so anti-Eisner, which obviously is not Graham, is that the club can't do anything right. The owners can't do anything right. And I'm like, that's where you lose me, because I'm like,
I mean, if it's extreme, it gets silly. Doing.
yeah, because if we sat here and talk about like on my second team, Scummers, like, do you mean if we sat here and spoke, like there's not positive things, but there's things you can say that they are better at that than we are. Like, do you mean? Because if
No.
you just went, oh no, they're shit, I hate them, they're disgusting, like there's nothing good about them, you're like, well, there obviously isn't there? Because there's certain parts of their club which we would love to have, like their academy and that kind of stuff. Do you mean? And then that's when you lose me, because if you can't look at both sides, then you're never gonna like not have your mind changed, but you can't have a decent conversation and a decent debate about anything, because you're just gonna. It's just like talking to a wall. So it's really good to have Graham on. I despise the fact that he's had to go through that stuff with threatening families, because like,
Yeah,
I mean, don't get me wrong. You want to have a pop at someone on Twitter and that kind of stuff, you crack on. You can call me every name under the sun if you want on Twitter. But if you then start going after family and that kind of stuff, that's where it's like,
it's
well,
just weird, isn't it?
if you ever saw each other on the street, that's when like sort of all bets are off the table. Do you mean? Like if you want to start talking about someone's family and kids and that kind of stuff, that's when I wouldn't have an issue with like someone saying just be physical with them, because I think they deserve it.
The one I can't understand threatening family now, but like that's just the norm with any sort of threats, isn't it?
Yeah.
But the one I can't understand is what do you even say to the employer? Did you know you got someone that doesn't like the Eisners working for you? Like, I don't get what bringing them. Like, do they just lie about? Like, I know, I said the Graham was totally up to him if he wanted to talk about it. Clearly, he didn't, which is respectful and understandable.
Yeah.
But were they just like lying and saying he was doing things? I just can't get. That's the bit I can't get.
Exactly.
It's just mental. And like I said, and I said it to Graham, it does go the other way when you do challenge someone that's the extreme Eisner's out, and you just get called a happy clapper and pathetic and all. So it does go both ways, and that's why it's good to have, like I said, an adult, mature conversation about these things, because that's what it's needed. And probably out of the history of the Eisners, this is the time that is needed more than ever.
Nah, yeah, I agree. Yeah, because I mean, stuff like when it's over, like COVID and kind of things like that. And I'm not saying, obviously, if it wasn't for them, that we'd be out of a club because, like, I just don't know anyway. But like,
I think if the fans are still around, I think we still have a club. I mean, like, I don't
yeah,
get all this.
yeah, I agree.
Oh,
I
you know,
agree.
the fans want to get because they would have. They
Yeah.
would have found investment or something. Would we not be in debt? Probably. Sorry, would we be in debt? Probably. But you know, all the other clubs survived.
Well,
So
exactly. You got like teams at bottom end of League Two that like pull in next to no fans whatsoever, and they managed to stay alive.
yeah,
So
exactly.
I
So
think we would have been completely fine. But obviously, where we would have been at, like as you said, debt wise or anything like that, I don't know because I didn't get involved in that kind of stuff.
no,
But
definitely not.
yeah, and that's the thing for me. As I said, these next two windows is the turning point for me. Whether like, and because all the stuff, some of the stuff, like, not all the stuff, but some of the stuff they've done off the pitch, getting the fan zone sorted. I like the stadium now. I know people say, oh, it's a bit of like wood and that kind of stuff, but I like what they've done with the ground. I think it's the best it's looked. That's my opinion. If you don't agree, that's fine. I ain't got a problem with that. But I like what they've done in that instance.
I
Uh,
I I I'm not. I'm not like a bit like what Graham said. I'm not done as in I want them gone,
yeah.
but I know for a fact. Like I said, they used when I asked you the question. You said if you put a gun to my head, they're not going to spend. They're not. I know that. You know that. We're just hoping they do.
No, but that's it. I give like it's the same thing in stuff in life. I will like give the benefit of the doubt and the chance to the very end, so then there's no regrets after that. It's like, well, I've given you so many chances. I've let it get right down to there, and you've still not done anything about it. So then that's it. Then I'm done now, and now I've got no regrets because you can't look back on it and go, "Wow, if only I'd given maybe a summer or given them like a little bit extra long time." There, I've done it, and it's like you can't go back. Like it's too much. It's done now. So I mean, the window's not over yet. I know, obviously, the whole point of getting people in. I don't like the whole. There's more value at the end of the window
Yeah,
because
we get told that every
yeah.
fucking window.
But the problem is we're not in a position where we can probably wait too much longer because if we don't get, I wanted at least 2 players in before Saturday, and then maybe another 2 next week because if we haven't got a side and a squad that can compete when them lot come to us, that will get ugly because like the thing is when you go into windows like stuff like that, there's never guarantees. Even if you like go out and spend good money on players that you think will be good for you, there's no guarantee they'll be good signings. A good signing is only a good signing once they've played and you've got to like the end of the season. There's like so many different examples of clubs buying players for big money, like Fernando Torres going to Chelsea, big money.
Yeah,
Was unbelievable for Liverpool, and he just went off a cliff for Chelsea. There's never any guarantee, but it's about giving yourself the best chance, and then the owners can't be looked upon. Then you're looking at like the players and the coaching staff and the manager and that kind of thing. But if you're not giving the coaching staff and the players and the squad the best opportunity to be able to have some kind of success, whether how you look at it, success can be staying up, success can be playoffs, winning leagues, stuff like that. Success is different for every sort of club, every person, that kind of thing. But if you don't give people enough like sort of chances and give them the tools to be able to achieve what you want, then it is going to be on the owners. So for me, this January, and then if we do stay up, the summer, if it's not better than the last summers have been, because most Januaries we have sorted it out and we've done what we needed to do, but we can't keep doing that. The summer has to be done, and like you have to get the summer right. And next summer will be the one for me.
I think we would have spent the money is I use Charlton a lot at the moment. Is they spent 10 million in the summer,
Yeah.
and they're no better than us. So your rate is in, you know, if it's not just about chucking money around and you know, but looking at like the signings, as I said, how poor the summer was. And people could argue, well, they only got the best they could do within the budget. But is any of this on Richard Hughes and Cullen and whoever else is involved?
Well, I think I had a sort of a discussion with someone on Twitter today about it, and I think because if we finish where we finish now, fourth, where were we, fourth from bottom, then
Yeah.
Hughes has done his job. Like, do you mean? And he's overachieved his job because he's overachieved his budget. Like, as Graham said, and we've said it, you can't keep outperforming your budget when it's that low. If you've got like a mid-table budget and you're finishing around the playoffs a couple of times, and then you finish below mid-table, it's not the end of the world. That's okay because it's going to happen. But when you're fighting, when your budget's one of the lowest, and if it is the lowest, then if you do fail your budget, you're done. Like, do you mean? There's no coming back from it. You're going to get relegated, you're going to go down, and that's it. So I think Hughes is, if where we are at the moment, I know one or two of the players aren't right, but if he's being told certain things, because I think someone mentioned about why isn't Ali is Hughes like being like a possible buy at the end of it, like that's Hughes letting us down. But I was like, but if Hughes can only go with the deal that allows the club allows him to do
Well,
it.
Luton might not want that deal, is
No,
it? Yeah.
but that's the thing, yeah. But the baseline of it is really like the club will say, like Eisner's or Cullen will be like, right, this is the deal you can offer them. We're not going to offer like it's the thing. So Hughes can't slip that in there, and like you mean, and go, oh, by the way, on the sly, we're going to buy you at the end of the season. Like,
Well, yeah, because that is, and I think people forget, a two-way thing. So with the option to buy, you have a set price, don't you? So it would have been, you take him on at the end of the season, and then you have the option to buy him for $1 million. Let's just, I'm throwing a number out there, right?
yeah,
Let's say he comes in, he scores 15 goals and loads of assists. $1 million's a bargain. And Luton are like, oh, hang on, for fuck's sake, we've just sold him for $1 million. Where if we didn't do that, we could be looking at $4 million.
yeah,
So I think that's where people forget, is there is a two-way. It's a bit like the same thing, like, why Bradford allowed to send McIntyre back and Biagini we can't. Well, it's because, so I've learned, if you pay a full wage, you can send them back.
right. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So we're obviously not paying a full wage on
Yeah,
Biagini.
right. Didn't know that.
Mm.
That makes sense. Makes sense, I suppose.
That's why we can't send them back, because we don't pay his full wage.
Yeah, and yeah, bit of a shit one, isn't it, really, I suppose. But then,
Well, and then that's just one that I think, and also I don't know how much. I'd love to know how much Messina has to say in transfers, because they looking at it, hindsight. Obviously, at the time we've spoken about it before. At the time, it was amazing, and I was so pumped for it. But the Chaplin deal is odd when you really look at it and think about it. Was it to please the fans? Like, it's difficult, isn't it? It's hard without knowing what's going in and out. But before we move on, one thing I want to say is that Graham talks about, he knew someone in the club and sources and that, and people don't believe you. I get all that. I've shown you things that I've been sent. People do have sources, not necessarily in the club, but people who are in football and know things and knows what's going on in certain situations. I knew Segasic was coming before anything else.
yeah,
Because of I mean, like, when people say they got a source, you like to think that you have to take them on face value on that. That's all I can say about that, because, and there's no point abusing people going, yeah, sure, right. And people are like, well, why can't you say who your source is? Well, because if I do,
you're done.
I'm done. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then, you lose that respect and trust off that person. So,
Well, of course.
People, obviously there are idiots out there on the wind up, but who's got, Graham had no reason to go against the club, as you said. I mean, he wants the best for the club, and they said, other than one who voted no, they all voted yes. So, for the sale of the club.
Yeah.
Right.
And that was very interesting, actually, to hear that. Like, I didn't like if he had said like 25 of us, like guess how many of us voted yes and voted no. I would probably just playing on the safe side. I would have said like 50-50. Wouldn't have said what 99% of them voted yes. So that's interesting. So that in itself shows like a different side of things, and I think maybe if people heard that, then that might sway some people's minds and be more receptive to being like, do you know what, let's just listen to what they've got to say. Let's hear what they've got to say and that kind of stuff. Because it's the same with the Brexit vote, isn't it? Like, sort of, I've got more respect for people that maybe have voted a certain way than go, do you know what, I think I've made a mistake here. Like, because they've shown, what's the word? Sort of like, not fragility, but sort of they've opened themselves up and said, because when people open themselves up and accept not to making a mistake but saying I did this and maybe I was wrong, then you're more likely to want to have a conversation, a debate, because you know you can look at it from both sides and you're not just going to be like chatting to a wall. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Right, shall we move on to the Sheffield Wednesday preview then? Yeah. Right, so I've done a little bit of Haz's work on
Nice.
on who's the referee is. And
Who's
the
the
referee is John Busby, and he's never actually refereed Pompey before.
All right.
I don't know if he's young. The only information I got is the games he's done. He ain't done a lot. He's done a few championship games this season, and that's about it. He averages around about 4 cards a game for those who like a bet builder. So Daz, one of you with a Z.
We'll be here for a while if we wait for Haz to say.
Yeah, actually, Haz,
Well,
what's your prediction? What was it again? I've forgotten.
He said, let me have a quick look. He said, what did he say?
What was he saying? Watford 2, Pompey 2 shocks. I'm confused.
Because I'm thinking, are we? Because Watford is on Tuesday or Wednesday, isn't it?
Oh, right. Yes. Right. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So
We're
he said,
previewing Watford as well.
yeah, and yeah. So as like, because Has obviously is got a poorly little head, we'll allow him to have his like predictions first. So he's gone for 3-1 Pompey,
Right.
and Bishop to score.
3-1 Pompey, Bishop to score. Daz, you can go next.
I'm gonna go. Do you know what? Let's go 2-0 Pompey.
Yeah.
And let's go. Who's going to be playing? Who's not injured? Ali. I think Ali's going to get it one. I've got to.
Debut goal.
I've got to back him now, haven't I? Because after.
You mate, I told you this ain't on Hughes or Muse or anyone. This is on you, mate.
Mate, he's my new Murphy.
So we'll get on to the transfer situation in a minute. Actually, we'll talk. I'll give my prediction. And we haven't even talked about the game, have we? I feel I'm letting you down on your segment of the previews. So I'm going to go for a 2-1. What goal score did you go for? Ali, wasn't it?
I went for Ali, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'll go Seggers because he needs to get a fucking goal. Thoughts on the game? So we've got a long injury list at the moment. No Murphy, although I'm still convinced he'll start against Scum. Lang is out. Who else is out? I'm trying to do all this off the top of my head. Kosnowski's out. Ume's out. Blair's out. But with Ogilvy's on the return, does he make you start 11?
I think if you're going to start him, I think it's that game. Personally.
Yeah, you want him ready for Scum, don't you?
Yeah.
Although I'm still, I said it last week, I really enjoyed Swanson at left back. I think he's been quality there.
Yeah, I think he has, but I suppose like from a set pieces point of view, you probably want him.
You probably could argue that we've been poor since Ogilvy has been out with set pieces. We ain't got enough. It's what really shot Netty only, isn't it? And Pack when he plays. Would you play Pack in this game? Or would you play Pack? Would you play Pack against Scum? I know Scum's a week away. Would you play Pack against Scum?
Probably not. No.
No?
Depends. Like, I don't know.
Because
Like,
at the moment, because with Kosneski out, surely it's just LaRue, Pack, or Swift.
I'd like to think we're going to have another centre mid in before then.
What about Saturday?
Do you want? I'd pretty much play the same starting 11.
Keep LaRue in?
Maybe like Ogilvy in at left back. It depends who's available and who's fit and who's ready to go, innit?
I'm
Like,
assuming Ali starts on the... Is he... I know he can play winger. Is it a left-sided winger?
I think he can play anywhere along the front three, I think.
Because you would think Seggers would play on the right, Chaplin in the middle, and then I have to put Ali on the left because Murphy's out, Biachini's out.
And we need some pace, and he's got that pace, and like, yeah, I think it would be silly not to start him, but because I don't think who else unless we set up like we did against Bristol City and 2 in behind Bishop, with like a 3-4-2-1. I don't know.
Sorry, something just popped in my head. Do you remember? When we brought John Swift on against Arsenal, we gone from this really, what's the fucking word? Pressing team to him just literally just walking around doing fuck all. I was just like, seriously, mate, you wonder why people are angry at you.
Yeah.
We just had even I don't think Chaplin had the greatest game, but at least he was out there battling. Seggers was battling, Bishop was battling, Belair was, Umar was, and he was just.
It was that shot he dragged wide as well, wasn't it? Like,
yeah.
It was a good chance. I thought if he got a good connection of it, you never know what would happen. But
yeah, Devlin keeps the right back spot. I'm assuming. I still would argue at the moment he's probably player of the season.
Yeah, 100%.
Alderdice, I think they're the two, really the only two, in my opinion. That, I don't know how you feel. If there's someone that, like normally you'd look at a Lang or a Murphy, but they've just been out too much.
Yeah, there's not enough players that have played enough games to us, is there really? So,
but there's still time. There's still time because
there is.
we could have argued last season Atkinson could have been player of the season, and he only played 11 times. So
true.
Right, Watford then. I hadn't even thought about it. Didn't even realise we were playing them. This is what? Wednesday. I haven't got any details because I had no idea we were playing. Right. Thoughts? Do we rest players for this Scum game?
That's one of those things that, how much choice have you got? That's the problem.
Yeah, I'll get that. What I mean is would you risk Shotnetty?
Probably not.
Would you play Bowat and Paul?
Yeah, I would.
Would you go into this with a bit of a weird lineup? Who was it we did the weird lineup against?
Well, it's one of these things.
Would you play Kirk? Would you play? Do you mean?
Well, it's one of those things. It's like when you do it over the Boxing Day, New Year's, and that sort of stuff. You have to be sensible in what teams you choose. And I think if you ask the majority of people and ask them honestly, rather than going, no, I'll play my strongest team whenever I can. If you said out of those 3 games, what game do you probably play a more of a, not weaker side, but do you know what I mean? You change things about. The majority of people should say Watford because you go to Sheffield Wednesday, you have to win that game, or you can never promise, but you have to really go there and really try and win it. Scum at home, we've got to get a result out of that. So out of those 3, Watford away from home. If we came away and lost like we did last season, is it a surprise, especially with Watford, how good they look at the moment? So I would just go there, try and scrape a draw if we can, and put a good performance in. I'm not saying just get deck chairs out and just sort of sit there and let them play around us, but
to
protect certain players
at the moment, aren't they?
Yeah, protect certain players.
Take the FA Cup. I know they lost 5-1 in the FA Cup, but they beat Birmingham 3-0, Norwich 1-0, Leicester 2-1, Stoke 1-0. They drew with Wrexham. Do you mean Sheffield Wednesday is where you're looking to get the points, isn't it? It's the teams around you need to beat. Watford are currently 6th. Scum's a big game wherever they are in the league. We're not miles behind them. Who have Scum got the weekend?
Hull, I think.
Yeah, so that's not going to be easy for them.
No. I don't know if they've got midweek after that.
And there's a chart I've heard, I don't know how true it is, that if they don't beat Hull, their manager could be sacked before they even play us.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
And then, Tuesday, they have, I'd imagine they're home again, as we're away. No, it must be Wednesday then. Sheffield United. So, tricky few games for them.
Exactly, yeah.
But obviously we'll get on to a big preview on the Scum game next week.
We will.
So Daz's prediction was 2-2, shot Nessie goal. Daz?
Let's go 1-1. I'll go with Bishop.
Okay, I'm gonna go 1-1 as well. It'll be a little bit positive, but I'm gonna go for a Devlin goal because he was unlucky not to score against Arsenal as well.
He was, yeah.
Great stroke. Right. Transfers just quickly. Obviously one in. We spoke about him, Mr. Ali from Luton on loan. At first I was very like, what the fuck is this? Until I had a look on Luton's side of things. And all I've seen is well, in the Championship, he was class.
Yeah.
He's fallen out with Jack Wilshere. So it's not like it's a player. I've seen people saying like, oh, you can't even get the Luton team. It's not because of his quality. It's because the manager don't see eye to eye with him.
Yeah.
And, they felt that he just looked like a player that just didn't want to be in League One. So it's given me a bit more of a positive look on it of, well, if we get the player from that he had last season, which some said they reckon he was one of if not the best, one of their best players last season, despite the fact they got relegated, then, that's something hopefully we'll see the best of. And also Bramwell is a good example. Look how well he's playing. I still think we should have signed him.
Yeah, so do I. And the thing is, apparently, with Bloomfield, apparently, he was playing Ali more as like a wing back, which I think doesn't suit him really. I mean, you want players at that height of the pitch, so we'll see how it goes. I'm not too happy about the whole with no option to buy and that kind of stuff or obligation, because if he comes and he hits the ground running and he looks very, very good, he'll probably end up somewhere else, won't he? Let's face it.
Yeah, well, what you'd hoped is maybe not an option to buy, but first refusal. Like I said, from a Luton's point of view, they don't if he ends up doing really well, then they might undersell him at this point. If that makes sense. But if we had a first option, so they can still set the price, and we were given, okay, he's done well, you can have him for 3 million, and we go yeah or nay. I mean, that would have made more sense than because for Exeter he was flying for them, wasn't
he? Yeah, definitely.
So right, we also had McIntyre return.
Woo!
But they're looking to get him out on loan. Other than that, not much going on.
No.
Even rumour-wise, we had this 6'4" giant player from France.
He's massive, by the way. As I said, I watched a couple of videos on him, and he is huge. He's like remind me of like Kenwyne Jones, kind of big striker.
Yeah, it's sort of probably a player we could, just something different to come on, because even though I know Kirk is different to Bishop, but he just likes fouling everyone, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Other than that, I've heard absolutely nothing. I don't know if I've missed anything. Daz, have you seen anything?
No, I agree. But that's the thing, though. That's the way the club tends to do it now, though, isn't it? I mean, Ali was only well, that was like yesterday or the day before where there was rumours, and then a day later he's done.
It
So
was the same day, wasn't it? When they late in the morning.
might have been, yeah. But
In the morning,
and that's the thing. That's why I feel like when people are saying there's, we're not doing this, not doing that, there's no rumours. But like that's kind of how the club want to do things nowadays. So the whole no rumours thing doesn't bother me that much. It's more of the signing. So
yeah.
I
Well,
mean, a lot of
I think remember that summer where it was like, people started blaming Neil Allen for costing us transfers. Because the reason why that player got signed is because Neil Allen's made a report on it, which is always
exactly.
sassy.
I mean, I have heard of where things like that potentially happen, but
not often. No.
Not
All
often.
it can do is the only thing it can do is just make teams say they're on your target list as well. Portsmouth but they would have already been on their target list.
Yeah.
They wouldn't have just gone, I wonder why Pompey going for that player. We'll buy him. Doing?
No, I agree. Yeah.
But all it does is just stop that disappointment of thinking you're going to get this player and then it don't happen. Doing? Just trying to think. I did all of a sudden just think something else. Oh, what was it? It's gone out of my head. I'm like you now, Daz. Oh, Farrell. Jacob Farrell looked like he's going out on loan. And then the club he was going to in Australia have gone administration, is that right? Got some financial trouble. Now it's not happening. You've got to feel for Farrell, haven't you?
Yeah, definitely. And that he won't be going anywhere until at least after the Scum game, I think. Because obviously they have to wait to see what they can do. There's no point letting anyone go if it's just they're going to need them.
Yeah. I think that it did make me laugh on Saturday though when I looked over and Jacob Farrell was stood in between Saka and Declan Rice. I just sort of thought whenever he was like, what the fuck? I think that's only the second time I've ever seen him with my own eyes.
Yeah. I haven't seen him much.
Annoyingly, Hazane on. I wanted to bring up Sol Campbell, but we'll wait for that for next week.
Do that next week, yeah.
Yeah, we'll abuse you Haz about Sol Campbell and your love for him. Right, Daz, unless there's anything else?
Nah, sweet, I'm all good.
Lovely job, right. Safe travels to all the Pompey fans up to Sheffield. We've got to get the 3 points, surely. Let's just try and have a good Saturday. And hopefully we might have another signing before then. Until then, see you next week.